Door 3 opened like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. The door shut. Unfed. Whoops. Back to the others, who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and Judy joined them as well. Huh? It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity playing on their faces. Before long, the other three did as well. What was that about? How should I know? It's Ace. Sure, they all expect him to thank you. I appreciate your cooperation. Hope we're shopping more forthcoming. He continued. By the way, Ace, would you mind if I ask you something? What is it? Do you know who I am? What? What kind of question? Just answer it, please. Who am I? You're Junpei, of course. Who else would you be? Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer. What? Actually, I'm Santa. Oh, he's doing his the fear. Ace's voice was full of surprise, but it was also tinged with confusion and fear. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Huh? He had to look especially shocked to discover he was actually someone else. If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued. The clothes I'm wearing, I borrowed from Junpei. And the clothes he's wearing are mine. We had a little swap. That's ridiculous. Impossible. So you're saying I'm not Santa? Of course you aren't. Why? What makes you sure I'm not Santa? If you were Santa, the door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. 1 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3 is 19. 1 plus 9 would be 10. The digital root would be 1. But the 4 of us just opened the door 3. You can't possibly be Santa. Your bracelet number isn't 3. It's 5, right? Only then, when it was too late, did Ace realize his mistake. He set his jaw and glared at Junpei. You're exactly right. My bracelet is number 5. Wait, what? I missed it. What? As he spoke, Junpei lifted his wrist up to show everyone the bright red 5 on his wrist. Bright. That is not red. I tricked you. Of course I'm not really Santa. I'm Junpei. Who else could possibly think I was? Obviously I'm not. To think I was. Ridiculous. But I guess you couldn't respond. You couldn't see how obvious it was. I asked you before, didn't I? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? And you answered. If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened just now. Most people wouldn't say something like that. The first thing that would come to anyone else's mind wouldn't be the bracelet number. There'd only be one thing they'd say. One sentence. You don't have his face. Ace, you have prosopagnosia, am I right? Junpei's voice was quiet and calm. He knew the truth, so did Ace. Prosopagnosia? They looked confused, except for Lotus. What's that? No clue. Prosopagnosia is... You heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them and turned back to Junpei and sighed. Very well, I confess, I have it. I cannot differentiate human faces. Is that what this was about? You want to mock me for my disorder? No, not at all. I'm making fun of you. In fact, I feel kind of bad for you. No, the reason I brought this up is that there's an excellent chance the person who killed Snake has prosopagnosia. Ace's face tightened. His eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping of one of the beds. I'll just come right out with it. I think it was you, Ace. You killed him. Junpei was suddenly very aware of the 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. Okay, but why though? The room had grown very, very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath. That's ridiculous. What possible evidence do you? I have 3 pieces of evidence. Oh, well, fuck. The first, think back to a few hours ago. You made us argue over the 3 doors here in this big hospital room. There was no way all 7 people could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us. Lotus looked away awkwardly. Junpei glanced at her and continued. Then you, Ace, said, I'll stay here. Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room. Ugh. And you see, if Ace stayed behind and there were only the 2 doors the rest of us could go through... Well, you see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through, 7 and 8. There was no way we could get back through door 3, the shower room. Not back. You knew that, didn't you, Ace? That's why you volunteered to stay behind. Come on now, I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but please don't devalue my actions. I only wanted to save the rest of you, surely. You can understand my altruism. Altruism, huh? Junpei stared off into the darkness, and something very interesting lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear. You already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever doors we took, eventually we'd end up back in the big hospital room. What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have? Really? Yes, yes! Bleeding was not something they'd heard from Ace before. Heh. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness. Oh, well, that's cool. I still got 2 more pieces of evidence that say you're the killer. The second is that, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia. Then you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish human faces must be a bad person? Junpei, they call that prejudice. No, I'm not that stupid. And why? Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you. The corpse in the shower room, it's not Snake's. What? Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well. If the body wasn't Snake's, I didn't put it together right away, but there was something Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. He'd lost his real arm in an accident. But the body we saw in the shower room, let's call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood. In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake. Oh, God. No, that's impossible. Ace started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring. Let's say, hypothetically, that the killer didn't have his prosopagnosia. If that were the case, he would immediately realize that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their faces would be completely different. It would have been obvious they were different people. And yet, they still killed him. Why? Why would they kill a stranger who'd only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him. Wait just a moment. Let's say you're right, and I mistook Guy X for Snake. Even if I did, I would have had no motive to kill him. Why would I want to kill Snake? I could think of at least 2 motives. 1, Snake knew about your past. If he ever revealed what he knew, that would have been really bad for you. You didn't want that to happen. So, to make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. 2. Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you. You never knew when you might be attacked. You couldn't ever let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you, so you... Hey, hold on a minute. The first time since the beginning Junpei's examination, someone besides Ace spoke. What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why did Snake have a grudge against him? Look at this. He handed Santa a small piece of paper. What's this piece of paper? Santa squinted at the paper beginning to read. The Norman game was played once before 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. It was planned by the following 4 people. Creative Pharmaceuticals CEO Gentaro Hongo. What is this? Slowly Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met Junpei's. It's true. The message from Zero. He was in the safe in the first-class cabin, then suddenly... Give me a break. Ace's face was red and shaking, and his voice was full of fury, tinged with desperation. That paper is a lie! Uso da! Someone is trying to frame me. Me. You said me, right? Junpei's eyes narrowed and the trap began to close. Ace inhaled sharply. His eyes flicked off of Junpei to anything else. Wouldn't that mean you're admitting you're Hongo, the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals? Or am I mistaken? It was as though a switch had been flipped. The color drained from Ace's face, and as he realized what he'd done, his eyes went wide. Very well, I admit that much. I am certainly the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals, Gentaro Hongo. So what if I am? I don't know anything about this nonary game that supposedly took place 9 years ago. Everything on that scrap of paper is bullshit. Someone is trying to set me up, you see. Ha ha ha. First of all, Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself to a more... Can Seven just remember and punch him? Junpei, you're claiming I did all of this by myself. Think that over, all right? How could I have killed Snake all by myself? No, not Snake. It was not Snake. It was Guy X. I don't care who it was. You said the killer put this other man to door 3, right? Yeah, maybe. Then I couldn't have possibly done that alone. I couldn't have opened door 3 with only myself and Guy X. Nope, you could have. Gasp! What? Ace's face was tight, and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close. Actually, Ace, when you were unconscious, I took something from you. You did? Remember when you were injected with anesthetic and fell asleep in the big hospital room? Yeah, back then, I took this. Junpei put his hand into his pocket. No, you couldn't have. Ace's right hand moved. Junpei smiled. I got you, Ace. Your right hand there tells me all I... Oh, you idiot. You want to tell me what you were so worried about? What's in your pocket? It's the number 9 bracelet, isn't it? Ace, Sky X, and the 9th man's bracelet. That was all you needed to open door 3. 1 plus 2 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 2 equals 3. That's how you killed Guy X all by yourself, Ace. All you needed was the number 9 bracelet in your chest pocket. Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped halfway to his pocket. Ugh. He looked down at the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All he could see was the corner of Ace's mouth twitching like a dying fish. If you want to play innocent, that's fine by me. Go ahead and tell me. I don't have the bracelet if that's what you want to do. But if you could take off your coat and hand it to me, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to take it from you by force. Right, Seven? Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Seven cracked his knuckles with a sound like gunfire. Ace roared with laughter. He threw his arms wide and his head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. Ha 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 ha! Then it stopped. His arms came down and his head dropped to look straight ahead at Junpei. Oh, damn! His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion. Well, 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 you son of a bitch. Well done, Junpei. As you so correctly deduced, I have the number 9 bracelet. I retrieved it while we were searching for the missing hardware for the red. I left the room I was supposed to search and headed to the first-class cabin on B deck. His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. He was almost bored, as though he were reading a especially dull corporate letter. My purpose was to obtain the number 9 bracelet. 9 is a potent ally in the nonary game. Adding 9 to any set of numbers won't alter the digital root. 1 plus 9 equals 10, 1 plus 0 equals 1. 2 plus 9 equals 11, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 3 plus 9 equals 12, 1 plus 2 equals 3, dots. As you can see, 9 is a very useful number here. With it, one can go anywhere with anyone. It is, I suppose you could say, a game changer. So I made for the first-class cabin to obtain it in a mere moments. I successfully acquired the number 9 bracelet. There was also an unexpected bonus. The knife the 9th man had used. I quickly pocketed both of them and left. I made my way back to where I was expected to be. That's when I ran into Snake. Well, this Guy X, actually. I spotted him ahead of me. He was heading for the large hospital room and hadn't noticed me. The man wearing Snake's clothes arrived at door 3. When he stopped, I walked up behind him and called out, Snake. Who the shitcakes is this? Is that Zero? Or was Snake Zero? No. What? Huh? Snake is Zero. Snake started the game as himself, switched out with Guy X. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. I think I got it. He turned around. He said nothing, his mouth simply hung half open. He seemed dazed, somehow, almost like a man half asleep. Perhaps he had been drugged, it wasn't important. I tend to gloss over little things like that. I was certain that man was Snake. I knew Snake had taken part in the nonary game 9 years ago. Being blind, it made sense that he didn't recognize me immediately upon our first meeting. Why then, hadn't Snake said anything to me later? Surely he hadn't forgotten what had happened to him in the nonary game. Not once did he attempt to confront me. Did his lack of sight prevent him from fully recognizing who I was? Or perhaps Snake had conspired with Zero to deceive me. Regardless, he was a threat, and it was better to deal with him sooner rather than later. I had to get rid of him before he took action. With quick thinking, my plan went into motion immediately. I held the number 9 bracelet over the red. I waved my own bracelet in front of the red, and then grabbed Snake's arm and shoved his hand against the scanner panel. The door opened. I threw the man through it. And 9 seconds later, the door shut. 81 seconds passed. The man inside the door passed away. After that, I returned to my post as though nothing had happened. After conducting my own search, I returned to the large hospital room when the 1 a.m. bell rang. Ace's eyes were cold, and his cheeks were hollow and pallid. This doesn't explain how the doors were fixed, though. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Thoughts? Junpei glared at Ace. He took a deep breath and thought about the next question he had to ask. He didn't want to, he knew what the answer would be. Okay, did you do it? He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed, then spoke. Ace, did you kill Clover? Yes. Why? Why did you kill her? She was Snake's sister. It was possible he had told her something dangerous. Additionally, she had gone through door 1. It seemed likely she might have found it. Found what? Why don't you go through door 1 yourself? Perhaps it's hidden somewhere. Seven and Lotus interrupted. Yeah, but Lotus and I went through door 1 too. We didn't see anything suspicious. Yes, I thought as much after I heard your report of the central stairs. I doubt the two of you could find it. What? What? But perhaps Clover was different. Perhaps she had found it. I was, therefore, desperate to find her. But at last I did in the first-class cabin. I spoke very calmly. Did you see it? See what? Don't act as if you don't understand. You were in the captain's quarters, were you not? Huh? What are you talking about? Very well. By the way, what are you doing here, Clover? What? I'm doing nothing. There's blood on your shoes. It looks fresh. Did you go take a look at the 9th man's paw? I see. Your silence suggests that you'd noticed. You saw something, didn't you? You saw that his bracelet was gone. I mean, or she went to see her fucking brother, you moron. No! Overran. She made for the exit, but I stood in her way. You aren't going anywhere. He caught her by the collar as she passed and threw her to the floor. Hard. Ah! You're staying here. No! He leapt back up and darted past him into the hallway. Ace followed at a run. Don't you run, little girl. He was faster. The master of faster. Dots, dots. That was how I killed Clover. His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show. You son of a bitch. Seven's whole body trembled with rage and his voice rumbled with hate. And his eyes were bloodthirsty, and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred. Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed. I admit it, I have lost completely and utterly. But don't misunderstand, Junpei. I didn't lose to you. I lost to Zero, not you. Who gives a fuck, dude? Thoughts. I'm rather disgusted with myself for falling into such a simple trap. I looked the fool. It was a trap, make no mistake. I was trapped and manipulated by Zero. The man I killed in the shower room. He wasn't Snake, and I have no idea who he was. But he was wearing Snake's clothes, and that was no coincidence. He'd also been injected with something that reduced his cognition and prevented him from identifying himself or resisting me. And we can't forget the components that were removed from the red before we arrived. I have no doubt that Zero planned all of this. Zero made sure I would kill that man. It follows, of course, that Zero knew everything I would do. That I would try to take the number 9 bracelet. That I would try to kill Snake. Everything. Suddenly, Junpei remembered the paper he'd found in the safe. He remembered the last words Zero had written on it. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth, Zero. And he remembered other words he'd heard from Clover. I think Zero is one of us. One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Ace, Santa, June, 7, Lotus? Zero is one of us? No, wait. There's one more person. It's Snake. Snake, the man who died in the shower room, isn't Snake. That means he's almost certainly still alive. Maybe Snake is Zero. Maybe he's made Guy X wear his clothes so that we don't think he was dead. Where's Snake now? What if he's off somewhere laughing at us? If he's Zero, he must have been lying to us about everything else. But is he watching us? Dots, dots. I mean, that feels like the least of your worries, dude. Well, I believe I finished with my confession. Why don't we get moving? He sounded as if he'd just finished doing nothing more than exciting than describing the weather. For Santa, it was the last straw. What the hell is this shit? You aren't going anywhere, you son of a bitch. We're gonna leave your ass here to rot. Why? Because I killed Clover? It's ridiculous. Why are you so upset that I killed the little bitch? He was nothing to you. A stranger you only met a few hours ago. Am I wrong? You bastard. Devin roared and lifted a fist that would likely have shattered Ace's jaw, but someone else was faster. Lotus, yeah. She's the mom. She stepped forward. Ace raised a fist of her own and drove it straight into his nose. Hell yeah. Blindsiding me with a punch. Oh, you've got some fire, don't you? I confess I rather like a tough woman. He sniffed and wiped a small trickle of blood from his nose with a raised eyebrow. Well, maybe you'd like another one then? Before that, let me give you one of my... Huh? Lotus scarcely can... Oh, you motherfucker, don't you dare. He snaked his arms from under and pulled Lotus's back up against him. In the same motion, he reached into his coat pocket. This fucker! It was a gun! Hold on. What the heck was with that cliffhanger? You just can't leave it there, can you? Oh, you can't do that. What's gonna happen? I don't know, but I sure am invested. I guess there's only one thing we can do about this, isn't there? That's right, citizens! Until next time is when you're going to have to wait until it is. Oh, geez, I already messed this up after going to all this effort. Oh, God, what have I done? Oh, well, you get the idea. Until next time, I'm afraid this is going to have to be... It was a gun!